Welcome to Spells and Spoilers, the podcast where we dive into all things supernatural. This season, we're starting with Charmed, so grab your spellbook and your popcorn, and let's get magical. Welcome to Spells and Spoilers, a rewatch and reread podcast. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Elizabeth. This season, we'll be going minute by minute through every episode of Charmed, giving you all the details and diving into the magic, the drama, and everything in between.
That's right. Each week, we're going to break down one episode of Charmed, and today we're starting with Season 1, Episode 1, Something Wicca This Way Comes. And let me tell you, this one is a wild ride.
It sure is. I'm excited to dive into the beginning when we first meet the Halliwell sisters and get a glimpse of the magic that's about to change their lives forever. But before we get started, just a quick reminder to follow us on social media, subscribe to the podcast, and to leave a review if you're enjoying our deep dive.
All right, let's dive in. The episode starts with a cold open, a dark and stormy night. We see a woman sitting at an altar. We also see a mysterious figure stalking her through the window. And we see the figure who is clearly trying to enter her house as she starts chanting the first spell of the show. Augur Dago May, ancient one of the earth so deep, master of the moon and sun. I shield you in my Wiccan way, here in my circle round, asking you to protect this space and offer your sun force down. So a couple of things. One, I looked it up and it's not like Latin or anything. They just like made up a language for the show.
Which I think I like that.
Yeah.
Like that's interesting.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I was like kind of hoping that there was like a hidden meaning, but there was not.
Yeah. I mean, that's talent though.
Yeah.
Like just coming up with a completely different language basically.
Yeah. And the way she says it is like really nifty.
It's smooth.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I like the way that it rhymes. So like somebody really like took the time to like rhyme this thing. I also think it's like super ironic that she's clearly doing like a protection spell and she's so about to get murdered.
I thought the exact same thing. Like you're doing a protection spell and then boom.
Yeah. Like what are you protecting though? Because it did not work.
Yeah.
So like what was the rest of the spell that like made it work? Because it clearly didn't work for her.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And maybe that's why it didn't work, because she didn't actually finish it because she was interrupted.
Maybe. So we see the man enter the house and she stands up and she greets him. So clearly she knows who he is. We're going to talk about that later.
Yes.
But then we see him immediately stab her in the stomach, which is our first murder of the show.
Mm-hmm. Now this is a great intro. It sets the tone. It's dark, suspenseful, and instantly pulls you into the world. What do you think of how the show immediately introduces this supernatural world?
Honestly, I really kind of like it because it like immediately grabs your attention. Like you're not just like seeing the girls at work and like trying to establish who they are as characters. Mm-hmm. I really like how they set stuff up. Like they just kind of throw you in and they're like, you can catch up, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like you don't really like see that too much anymore. Like there's a lot more like exposition and like telling instead of showing you.
Yes.
And Charmed does a lot of like, you got it. You can figure it out, you know?
Yeah, that's what I liked about it too, was like it immediately just goes in and then you have a murder within the first,
3 minutes?
3 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really liked that about it because I'm not sitting here waiting and, 10, 15 minutes trying to figure out what's going on.
Right.
So I really liked how it went into this.
Yeah. And like also like just the vibe of the show, like it's dark, it's stormy, there's thunder everywhere, and it just immediately tells you like something's
gonna happen.
Something's about to happen.
Yes.
And like you don't just see like a cloaked figure standing in the rain staring through a window who's like a friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a murderer.
Yeah.
But even like showing us that she can do magic shows us that like the charmed ones aren't the only ones who can, which I think is like also interesting because a lot of times we see like the main character is the only one with the special gift.
Yes.
And so I think that's really unique. So we cut to Piper Halliwell, played by Holly Marie Combs, entering the Halliwell home. She starts talking to Prue, who's played by Shannon Doherty, and asks if Jeremy called. And we're told that he didn't, but he had a package and roses delivered. And we learn that for now, Piper is a chef who has been looking for work, and Jeremy sent her a bottle of port as the ultimate ingredient for her audition recipe for the job that she's applying for. While she's opening this port, she looks over at the table and like immediately is like, oh my God, is that our old spirit board? Which like also tells me that like somewhere in their childhood, like there was some involvement, because did you have a spirit board growing up?
I did not, nor have I ever touched one. because I feel like I have too much bad juju that would latch onto me in real life, and I would not be the Elizabeth that everybody knows. So no, I have not. Have you had experience with it?
I not a spirit book. There is like some elements like I sage my house. I light candles. I do some more spiritual things. But my mom was very anti Ouija board. Like, do not bring demons into my home.
I like her already.
Vibe.
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
So I did not have a spirit board, but like that tells me like somewhere down the line, like even if they don't remember it,
they were introduced to it at some point.
Some involvement. But we see an old wooden Ouija board, and Piper flips it over and reads an inscription on the back, and it says, "To my 3 beautiful girls, may this give you the light to find the shadows. The power of 3 will set you free. Love, Mom." And Prue says, because she is a sass queen, maybe we should give it to Phoebe. That girl is so in the dark. Maybe a little light will help. And makes a comment that, you know, as long as Phoebe doesn't come around here, it's good news that she's coming around, you know, because Piper's trying to defend her.
Which this right here immediately gave me, like, something's going on with those two specifically. Like, that was our first insight of tension.
Yeah. And I like how they, like, kind of immediately show those dynamics without being like, I'm mad at her for what, you know?
Yeah.
But the girls leave the room and we see the planchette moving by itself. And then we cut to credits. We cut to a crime scene at the blonde woman's house that we saw in the first scene. And Inspector Andrew Trudeau, and in my notes it says a very handsome cop, says, "Another dead female, right? Mid to late 20s. So immediately we can see that this isn't the first murder. This is a pattern. And he tells his partner, who we later learn is Daryl, and Daryl will become very important to us as we go on. I love Daryl, that he was late getting there because he went to an occult shop.
Yeah.
Andy tells Daryl that someone's going after witches, and he bets the woman was killed with an athame. Daryl says, no, it was a double-edged steel knife. Thank you very much. And Andy tells him that's what an athame is. Yeah. Which literally made me laugh so hard. Daryl tells Andy that the woman was killed near an altar, but he says that, you know, she was a crazy person. Daryl is very, like, anti-witchcraft.
Yeah. He is not a believer.
No, definitely not. Not yet.
Which makes me wonder why Andy is.
Yeah.
Like, I'm anxious to see his backstory. Like, why does he think they're witches and not just random killings?
Yeah. Andy gets called to attention by Jeremy Burns from the San Francisco Chronicle. And this is the Jeremy, I guess?
Maybe.
Because he is not cute enough for Piper.
So I immediately felt like when I seen him that he gave me bad vibes.
Yeah.
Like as soon as I seen him, I was like, you're sus.
Yeah.
Definitely sus.
He asks Andy for a comment, and Andy tells him the woman was just stabbed, plain and simple, which Daryl had just said to him. He's like, I don't want to go into all this occult stuff with Jeremy from the San Francisco Chronicle, which I don't blame you, buddy. I think you're crazy.
Right.
But Jeremy tells us that this is the 3rd murder in 3 weeks. So clearly this killer is really getting busy.
Yeah, we're going on to serial killer.
Yeah. Back at the manor, Piper tells Prue that Phoebe left New York and she is moving back in with them. We can see immediately that Prue is upset about Phoebe coming back, and she says, like, really ominously, maybe you forgot why I'm so upset with her.
Yeah.
So we wonder what that's about.
More tension.
Yeah. And then, of course, like in typical 90s show fashion, as soon as she says, when does she arrive? Phoebe opens the door.
Yes.
And Phoebe is played by Alyssa Milano, and she looks mostly stunning. We're going to talk about her hair later, but for the most part, she looks good. Not a fan of her hair in this season. So as she comes in, Piper runs out to pay the cab, and there's a moment of tension between Prue and Phoebe. Prue tells Phoebe that they are not going to sell the house, and Phoebe is, like, super offended that, like, she thinks she came back to sell the house. Yeah. And Prue says that she and Piper gave up their apartments because the house has been in the family for generations. And Phoebe says, no history lesson needed. I grew up here, too. Can we talk about what's really bothering you? Prue tells her no.
Yeah.
And says she's still really furious
like
at her.
She shut her down.
Yeah. And Phoebe asks, so you'd rather have a tense reunion filled with boring chit-chat and unimportant small talk? And because Prue is the queen of sass, she says, no, but otherwise we won't have anything to talk about.
I do not like how she just dismisses it.
Yeah.
Like she just, like she would rather hold on to her anger about whatever happened instead of try to build it up with her. And I get, you know, we don't know what happened at this point, but you can definitely see that older sister dynamic of, no, we're not doing this. I'm the oldest. This is how it's done.
Yeah, it's like my way or the highway.
Exactly. Yeah. This is such a pivotal moment. Phoebe coming back to the house is like the calm before the storm. What do you think of how they immediately introduce her? She's kind of the wild card of the family.
I do like it how they are immediately like, there's some mystery, there's some tension. I think if they like would have started with everybody like being really close and being friends, we would have missed so much development from the girls, like as they start building that relationship and start like settling into their powers and all of those things. What do you think?
I think that's a good point. I can see where, you know, if they're all on the same basis really close, then it'd be kind of difficult to have that like growth throughout. You know, when they do come into their powers, you know, they're already close, and then what more do they need to grow? Whereas there's this tension now, and then they come into their powers and they wind up growing as one.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and even like at the end of this episode, and we'll get to it later, but Prue says like, we're going to be careful, we're going to be wise, and we're going to like stick together.
Yeah.
And like, that is such like a transformation. And like, you wouldn't have that if they were all happy-go-lucky together to begin with. They're like, you can kind of see this like brief uncertainty from Phoebe that kind of sets her apart from the sisters, because she knows like something is about to change, I think. You know, as much as like Prue says that she has no vision, I think there's a reason they gave Phoebe premonition powers. As much as Prue withholds her emotions, Phoebe kind of like wears it on her sleeve. Yeah. You know, like you never really have to guess what's up with Phoebe.
Yeah, because she's very direct.
Yeah, she's just going to tell you. But Phoebe says, I never touched Roger. I know you think otherwise because that's what that Armani-wearing, Chardonnay-slugging trust funder told you.
I love how she describes him. Yes. Absolutely love it.
Do you think that that's, like, when you meet Roger later, do you think that's, like, an accurate depiction of Roger?
Like, on point, for sure. It's great.
I love how savage she can be sometimes.
Yes,
it cracks me up.
And she just does not care. And I love that about her.
Yes. We cut to Phoebe's room. She's watching the news about the murder of the blonde woman when Piper comes in. Jeremy is on the TV, and Piper confirms that that is indeed her boyfriend. Yuck. Phoebe says, why didn't you tell Prue I was coming back? And Piper says, and risk her changing the locks? I didn't know that the hatred was that deep. Jeez.
Yeah.
Besides, you should have been the one to tell her, not me. And Phoebe agrees with that, and then kind of gives us this line about her dynamic, saying, it's always so hard for me to talk to her. She's always been more like a mother. And Piper says, it's not her fault. She practically had to sacrifice her own child to help raise us. Hey, we were lucky she was so responsible. And, like, as she's saying this, like, Phoebe, like, kind of joins in with her saying it.
Yes.
Like, as if this is something that they've both been told a zillion times. Which, like, Grams? Why is this grandma being like, that's basically your mom? Yeah. Oh,
or Phoebe and Piper have had those conversations growing up.
Right.
So
that's true.
Because I know my younger sister and I, we had the same thing with my older sister, whereas she stepped up and was like, you know, mom figure. And we're both like, oh, she's like this because of the way, you know, we were raised. Yeah. So I could see it being like that too.
Yeah. Well, Phoebe says, I don't need a mom anymore. I need a sister. And I think that, you know, is really powerful.
It is.
She's a grown woman. Yeah. She's raised.
But you can clearly tell that she yearns for that connection with her sister. Yeah. Like, she wants that connection as a sister, someone that she can rely on. Yeah. And not a mother who's going to give her, you know, this is the kind of advice I'm going to give you. This is what you should take. Right. You can tell that she just wants that connection. Yeah. And it's obviously not working for her, and she just yearns for it.
Yeah, absolutely. We go back to the crime scene, and we see a flash of the dead woman's tattoo, which is a triquetra, or a Celtic trinity knot. It's the same tattoo that was on the other 2 victims, which I think is a little bit interesting because he mentions that she is a solo practitioner. And so, like, why does she have the same tattoo as, like, 2 other people if they aren't in the same coven?
Maybe she just lived on her own.
Maybe. I don't know. I just think it is, like, interesting that they, like, all have the same tattoo because they're not in the cult. But Daryl says, specifically, well, we know the murderer is killing cultists. And Andy corrects him and says, no, the murderer is on a witch hunt. And Daryl says, yeah, and he's 500 years old and he lives in Salem. Look around.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah. Look around, Trudeau. Pentagrams, altars, offerings, all the tools for a freak fest. We always have to have at least one character who's like the cynic, you know, who's like, absolutely not. This is not my vibe. The poor Daryl just wants to go to church and mind his business.
I know, I can't wait for his eye opener.
Yeah. And Andy, because he's a hero, defends her and says they call them sabbats, and this was hardly a freak fest. She was a solitary practitioner. She practiced her craft alone. And he asked Daryl if he believes in UFOs. And Daryl says, hell no. Because of course he doesn't. And Andy says that he doesn't believe in them either, but asks if he believes that there are people that do believe in them. And he believes that those people exist. And Daryl says, yes, of course. And Andy asks him why, if he can believe that, why can't he believe that there are people that really do believe they're witches?
And I love how he worded this because it kind of opens your eyes. Like, you know, I don't believe in UFOs, but I know people are out there that do believe in it. Right. So I liked how he had pointed that out and called him out.
Right. Well, this even like kind of lends me to like, what is Andy's real, like, what really does he believe in? Because like, does he just believe there are people who are kind of crazy, but they believe that they are witches, so you have to act as if that is a fact? Or
does he actually believe?
Does he believe?
Or what did he see to make him believe?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it really like kind of lends to like what is going on with Andy. So we see the woman's white cat, it's like a gorgeous white cat, jump onto a bookshelf, and Daryl says to watch out because it's been clawing the crap out of everybody. That is a direct quote.
Yes.
But the cat lets Andy pick it up, is very sweet to him, and we see the same triquetra on the cat's collar.
Which again makes me wonder, if the cat is attacking everyone else, what is Andy's story? like at this point, I need to know what Andy's story is. Yeah. Because he was not attacked by the cat.
Yes. Maybe the cat can just tell if you're like good, believing people, you know?
You know, I mean, they say animals are.
Yeah.
So why not?
Cut to the manor again, and we see Phoebe and Piper sitting by the spirit board. They are talking about Jeremy, and Piper tells us that they met at the hospital the day Grams was admitted. She says she was crying, and Jeremy handed her a napkin with his phone number on it. And I'll be honest, I don't love that.
And I see where you're coming from on that. But at the same time, like, I feel like I need more background story on that. Because if he is in there just, you know, targeting, like, that's not okay.
Yeah, I feel like you can be friendly without being flirty. Like, maybe don't hit on grieving women and take advantage of their emotional state.
Yeah.
I don't love that.
I feel it. I do. I feel it.
Like, red flag, Jeremy. But Piper accuses Phoebe of pushing the pointer on the spirit board because it starts to move, and she denies it. Piper leaves the room to make some more popcorn, and Phoebe's alone at the spirit board. Phoebe calls out, like, the funniest scene to me, is that she forgot Piper's question, and Piper says, I asked if Prue would have sex with someone other than herself this year.
This is something I would totally ask. I'm not kidding. And then she's like, ew, gross.
Yeah. But then she's also like, please say yes. Please say yes.
Yes, I loved it. Yes.
But while she's doing this, and that's something I love about Charmed, is like, they can like really be deep in the middle of some stuff, and then like they just throw in like the funniest thing, and it balances so well.
It does, yes.
But while she is begging the board to say yes, we see the planchette like violently move to the letter A and the letter T, which totally freaks her out.
Yeah.
She calls for Piper, and both the girls come running in, but neither one of them believe her. Both of them are like really kind of at this point where they're like, I just want a normal life. Leave me alone. And I think like Piper really stays that way for a lot of the show. Prue kind of comes around to it, but Like, Piper is very much like, leave me alone.
And you can definitely tell, like, you know, even we don't know a whole lot about Phoebe yet, but like I can even tell that Phoebe, as I had mentioned earlier, is like a wild card in the family, but she definitely, there's something about her that like she's just free.
Yeah. Well, I think she might have like youngest child syndrome a little bit, and she's just kind of like trying to find where she belongs.
Yeah.
Like, she wants a purpose.
Yeah. I mean, we all do, but I definitely feel that with her.
Yeah. When they turn around to leave the room, the planchette starts moving again, and Phoebe, like, totally takes her hands off of it. She's like, not me, I'm not touching it.
Yep.
And it starts moving on its own, which Piper sees, and Prue comes back, and Phoebe writes out that the board had spelled attic. As she says, the board spelled attic, the lights go out all through the house. And in the next scene, Piper is setting up to leave. She's like, absolutely not.
Yeah, she's like, she does not want anything to do with this. She's done.
Yes.
Someone is coming after her, and she is like, nope, not having it.
Yeah. But Prue is like trying to calm her down. She's like, all you saw was Phoebe's fingers pushing the pointer like she always used to do. She's playing a joke on us. Like, don't worry about it. And Piper says, you don't know that. We've lived in this house for months now, and we've never been able to get that attic door to open. Why does the spirit board want us to go in there? And while Prue and Piper decide to go down to the basement to check the circuit board, Phoebe heads up to the attic. So we're about 15 minutes in now, and Phoebe enters the iconic Halliwell attic, which we are going to see a million times an episode from now on. And we see a glowing chest underneath like the bay window, and
it's very magical.
Yes. She opens the chest and she blows the dust off of the Book of Shadows.
Dun, dun, dun.
She opens it, and because she has never seen a single movie in her whole life, starts to read aloud.
Right? Like, she literally she goes with it.
Yeah.
Like I said, she goes with the flow, and she's just like, let's see.
Yeah, absolutely. But the spell she reads says, "Hear now the words of the witches, the secrets we hid in the night. The oldest of gods are invoked here. The great work of magic is sought. In this night and in this hour, I call upon the ancient power. Bring your power to we witches 3. We want the power. Give us the power." I think the first spell was better. I feel like "we want the power, give us the power" is like not a good ending.
It's corny.
Yeah.
Because I agree with that. Like, I didn't feel like it flowed.
Right.
Like, I think that was badly written.
Yeah.
Like, it could have been more.
Yeah. Like give it some like oomph, you know, something.
I agree.
But as she finishes reading, we see downstairs is like bathed in magic. The chandelier starts to shake, and the photo of the 3 girls changes so that instead of like standing all separated, they're like moved closer together in the photo. And so what do you think of like the symbolism of the girls drawing together in the photo?
So I think that just shows that once they have their powers, it brings them together. It unites them.
Right.
And I think that's the symbolism of that is, you know, it's the 3 of them, and they can't be who they truly are without one another.
Right. Yeah. A few minutes later, Prue and Piper join Phoebe upstairs, and Phoebe tells them that she read an incantation from the Book of Shadows. She's like, I did it. You're welcome. She says that the book mentioned there being 3 phases of magic: timing, feeling, and the phases of the moon. And she says, if we were ever going to do this, tonight on the full moon would be the most powerful time.
I love that she just embraces it.
Yes.
And is like, we are witches. We are sisters of the covenant, and let's do this.
But like, she literally, when did she have time to read that? She literally opened it and was like, give us power. I don't know.
Right? Like, she knew that it was some type of incantation.
Yeah.
And had no clue what it's gonna do or what it's for. But she's like, let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Her sisters, on the other hand.
Yeah. Piper says, do what? And she says, receive our powers. And Piper is shocked. She says, our powers? You included me?
I love when she said that. She's like, no, I did not sign up for that.
Yeah. And like, where Piper is shocked, Prue is like angry. And she's like, no, she included all of us. It says, bring your powers to We Sisters 3. It's a book of witchcraft. Like, immediately she's like, I let you into my house. I brought you blankets earlier, and you include us in your spells?
Yes.
Who are you? What? You should have stayed in New York. She's like, what did New York do to these girls?
I know, so much tension still.
Yeah.
But...
And then, like, outside, as the girls are fighting in the attic, we see the mysterious cloaked figure from the first scene lurking outside. So we can see that, like, now they are in danger. And Piper insists that nothing must have changed because she clearly doesn't want it to.
Yeah, she doesn't feel anything.
Yeah.
She's just very, nope, we're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
And Prue says that none of this freaky stuff would have happened if Phoebe hadn't arrived.
Yeah, she definitely puts 100% blame on Phoebe.
Yes. And low-key, it's her fault, so.
I know, and I love how the Book of Shadows isn't just an object. It's almost like it's calling to them, pulling them in. It's like a piece of the magic they didn't even know was their birthright.
Yeah. Well, and like as we like go through the show, I feel like the Book of Shadows is just like its own character. Like, what's the Book of Shadows doing? Being stolen, you know, being like preventing demons from stealing it. Like, it just like it has its own magical powers. I think that's so cool. The next morning, Piper finds Phoebe sitting on the front steps, and she jokes that Phoebe spent the night wearing a black conical hat and riding around on a broomstick. And Phoebe tells her no, but she did spend the night reading the Book of Shadows, and she found that one of their ancestors was a witch named Melinda Warren. So now we get, like, the exposition, the lore. And Piper says, yes, and we have a cousin who's a drunk, an aunt who's manic, and a father who is invisible.
Don't we all?
I love Piper's sense of humor, honestly. Phoebe says that Melinda had 3 powers. She can move objects with her mind, see the future, and stop time. She says that before Melinda was burned at the stake, she vowed that each generation of Warren witches would become stronger and stronger until the arrival of 3 witch sisters. She says these sisters would be the most powerful witches the world has ever known. They're good witches, so that means there's bad witches. And I think we're those sisters. Piper has doubts. And Phoebe says the iconic line, "We're the protectors of the innocent. We're known as the charmed ones."
Yes.
Cut to Prue at her job at the museum, and we're told that whatever exhibition she's been working on is going to remain part of the museum's permanent collection, but she is not going to be asked to oversee it.
I would be furious.
Yeah.
I would want to eat his face off.
Yeah, that's awful. The man that she's talking to says, "What's good for me is good for you, right, Miss Halliwell?"
Ugh.
And I'm obsessed with a Prue that takes no shit. Because she just responds with, "Miss Halliwell? Since when did we stop being on a first name basis? When we stopped sleeping together, or when I returned your engagement ring, Roger?"
I love her sassiness.
Me too.
Like,
and
it's on a different level.
Yeah, so this is the famed Roger that the girls were arguing about earlier. And I just have to ask, like, what is with these men being like milquetoast? Like, basic.
Yeah, vanilla.
Yes.
Very vanilla.
Yeah, like none of them are hot enough for these women. No. And for there to be like a suspicion that he got both Prue and Phoebe.
I know.
It's like, that is not a thing. That is impossible.
Yeah. Yeah.
He says, "Prue, wait, I feel like I should say something, if only to avoid a lawsuit."
When he said that, I was like, are you for real right now? Like, did you legit just say that?
Yeah. Elizabeth works in a law office. Did you get triggered?
I did. I was like, wait, what?
And we see Prue perform her first piece of magic, and because as she's walking away, Roger's pen explodes in his pocket. So he takes the pen out to like examine it, and then it explodes in his face.
Karma.
It's objectively hilarious.
Yes.
Next, we see Piper at her audition for her job interview, which like I don't know if that's like a real thing. Like, do you really have to like make a recipe to like?
I mean, I would think that you would have to prove that you know how to cook.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I'm not a chef, so I would know.
I mean, I would, if I'm hiring a chef to cook for my family, I'm going to want to sample their recipes. Because if you don't have any type of flavor to it, then I don't want to eat that. You know, if it's bland, no thank you.
Yeah.
So I think it would be a thing.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. But as she's cooking, the chef comes in and tells her that her time is up. And Piper was making a roast pork with gratin of Florence fennel and a penne with a port giblet sauce.
I don't know what that is, but it sounds good.
Either. Like, why are you making the most complicated dish on earth? Like, it's crazy. And I just want to say, I feel like I'm not French, but I feel like this man has the most spectacularly bad French accent.
They could have done better.
Yeah,
they could have done better.
Is he intentionally supposed to be a man faking a French accent?
I also couldn't get over how pasty his skin was.
Yeah.
Like, they put way too much powder or foundation or something on him. Like,
poor guy.
Like, if you look at the hand and his face color, like, I can't get over it.
Didn't match. Yeah. She like tries to explain to the chef that she like didn't have time to actually add the port, which is like the hero of the dish. Obviously, she said that earlier. And the chef says that without it, the sauce is no more than a salty marinara recipe from a woman's magazine.
Can you say insult?
I know. For one, I don't love that because he says it like it's something derogatory, but like most women's magazine recipes are delicious.
Right? Like, why did he use that as an insult?
Yeah, not into it with your fake French accent. Get out of here. And like as he like goes to take a bite, Piper like freaks out and like starts waving her hands, and Chef Moore freezes, and that is Piper's first bit of magic. She like tries to get his attention because
she's like hello.
She like does not know
her,
what's happening.
Yeah, waving her hands in his face.
But when she can't, she seizes the moment and she adds the port to like the bite of food on his fork. So like she's lucky he didn't go for his second bite.
I know,
like,
that's what I thought too. I was like, girl, you should have just squirted it all over.
Yeah, really. Also, like, I guess you didn't have to like mix it in or cook it. It literally just had to be like on it. Or maybe that was the sauce. It looked like it was just like she poured it into the
measuring cup.
Yeah.
And it was just the wine, I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the chef loves it. So hooray for my girl Piper.
Yes.
She clearly wants this job really bad, so love that for her. And we go back to Roger in his office. And he's on the phone taking credit for Prue's work because he sucks.
Yeah.
When Prue walks in on him and she tells him that she quits. Good for her.
Yeah. I could not work for a pig like that.
No, absolutely not.
Thank you. I know my worth, and so does she.
Yeah, absolutely. He tells her to think about it, and she says, lousy job, lousy pay, lousy boss. What's there to think about?
Love it. Love it.
And Roger tries to threaten to give her a bad reference for quitting without notice, but Prue shuts him down with just like a look.
Yeah.
Like
don't even.
Yeah. Which honestly, I feel like all older sisters have that. My siblings, please weigh in. But he tries to convince her that really he's doing her a favor by taking credit for all of her work.
No.
Why? And she says that she's sure his intellect will make quick work of the 75 computer disks and thousands of pages of research that she has in her office.
Oh, serves him right.
When Roger says she's going to regret this, she says, oh, I don't think so. I thought breaking up with you was the best thing I had ever done, but this definitely tops that. And I just really love how Shannon Doherty delivers her lines. She's like sassy, but like in a mature way.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that's her being the oldest comes into play.
Yeah, like she really like understood her character for sure.
Yes, she really did.
Yeah. And it really sells the like growing up too fast older sister character because like I imagine her speaking the same way to her siblings when they were younger, you know?
Yeah, very stern.
Yes.
And you need to listen to me.
Yeah. But as she's walking out the door, Roger accuses her of stealing office supplies.
Because who needs office supplies
like
at home,
a stapler,
right?
like what the heck?
Yeah.
And she makes like a little like frustrated like squeeze of her hands, and that causes Roger's tie to tighten around his neck. And I just want to know if we're about to see the second murder of the show. But no, he cuts himself free.
I love how like she doesn't even know.
No,
she has no clue, and
yeah, and this is the second time she's performed magic and she has no idea.
Yeah.
And both acts have like not only been acts of like emotion, but like acts that she's not seeing. Yeah. Which I think is crazy. Yeah. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But we see Piper in a phone booth. What a throwback.
I know. Like, do they even still have this?
No.
I mean, maybe in the bigger cities, right?
Yeah, if you're from San Francisco, please weigh in. Do you still have phone booths?
Or, you know, like New York or something. A small town, Midwestern people don't know.
Yeah, for real. But she's trying to call Phoebe, who's not answering, and she steps out of the phone booth and is like immediately spooked by Jeremy. Sus.
Yeah, like my immediate thought was, how'd you know she was there?
Yeah. Well, she asks him that, and he says that it's, like, obvious that she would get the job. Like, he's there to congratulate her on the job, and he knew she would get it because she was making her signature dish. Then he, like, starts, like, kind of being, like, sweet to her, and I think that's just to distract her from, like, how creepy he's being.
Yeah, I think that was, like, he answered her only so much.
Yeah.
Like, he avoided it, but at the same time gave her just enough of an answer.
Yeah, he's, like, love bombing her, too, which is, like, not
cringe.
Fantastic. Yeah. So we're about 26 minutes into the show when Phoebe discovers her power. And I think it's a little bit interesting that, like, she's the last one. And, like, maybe, like, in the context of the show, it's all happening, like, relatively simultaneously. But, like, she's the one who started it and, like, believes the strongest. And then...
Like, the order of it.
Yeah.
I feel like they started out with... Like, Prue doesn't know that she's done something, but they started out with her, who is the least skeptical.
Right.
And then Piper, who's like... no,
absolutely
like
not.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And then I agree where Phoebe is like all for it.
Yeah. But she can see the future. She's riding a bike, and the screen flashes to, like, a black and white image of two boys rollerblading when a car comes down the road and hits them. So seconds later, it looks like it's about to come true. Like, she can see the car, she can see the boys, and Phoebe, like, swerves her bike in front of them and, like, falls to the ground to save them.
Yeah.
Like, and
she's completely selfless on this, and I love that about her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is how she's a very direct person and very carefree, but at the same time, you can clearly see that she's selfless and very caring.
Yeah, and I think that just, like, goes back to her line earlier, like, we're the protectors of the innocent, you know?
And it's a good example for that.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't know these people, and then there she is putting herself in danger for them.
Like, you can tell she, like, really takes it to heart, you know?
Yes.
We also see the witch's cat from the crime scene watching this happen. So I love the cat. The cat's so cute.
Yeah, I think this is one of the first moments where Phoebe realizes how big this is. She doesn't know exactly how to control it, but she knows it's real and that life is about to change.
Yeah. Well, and I also think, like, from her seeing that, she knows that, like, she can do something about it. Like, she doesn't just wait and watch to see if it really does come true.
Yeah, she takes the reins and she's like I said earlier, she just embraces it.
Yeah, absolutely. In the next scene, we see Prue asking a receptionist at the hospital about Phoebe, who was evidently hurt when she threw her bike into the road. Probably got road rash.
Yeah.
And at the desk, she runs into Inspector Trudeau. He's there investigating the murder. He's there to talk to a doctor. And Prue and Andy definitely know each other because there is some heavy sexual tension between these two people.
Like, love interest.
Yes. I love Prue and Andy together. I think they're so cute. And, like, finally a man handsome enough for one of our girls.
Right. Yeah.
There is some light flirting, and Andy asks Prue if he can buy her a bad cup of coffee. And Prue tells him that she thinks inspector is a classier title than detective. And when she says this, Andy, like, smiles, and he's like, I like the title better already. And they spend a few minutes catching up, and Andy reveals that he has been keeping tabs on her in a totally not creepy way, looking at you, Jeremy, before Prue is called to see Phoebe. When they leave the hospital, though, because we don't, like, really see an interaction with them at the hospital too much, but when they leave the hospital, Prue and Phoebe go to a restaurant, which first I thought it was a bar. It could be a bar, I guess, but, like, Prue has coffee. So I thought maybe more of, like, a restaurant, but I don't know.
Maybe.
Because it's not really relevant. But, this is where I was like, I'm not loving Phoebe's hairstyle.
I don't think it was that bad.
The like, long curled bob situation, I just, like, did not feel
I think
like
it was just styled weird. Because I think it was, like, straight and then curled towards the bottom.
Yeah. It like,
or flipped or something.
Yeah, it, like, made her, like, face very round, in my opinion. And I, like, just did not think it was flattering. But Phoebe is talking to Prue and asking if anything strange happened today. Prue is still, like, really skeptical about it. And she says, I know you think you can see the future, which is pretty ironic. And Phoebe defends herself, saying, because you don't think I have one? That my vision is cloudy compared to your perfect hell? Yeah. Even if you don't want to believe me, just once can't you trust me?
I know. And this is kind of like a follow-up on what I said earlier. She just wants Prue to accept her.
Yeah.
Like, she clearly wants acceptance.
Yeah.
And she's just not getting it.
Definitely. Prue, again, like, disagrees with her and asks where the cream is for her coffee. And then the cream slides down the bar to next to her. And shocked, Prue, like, stares at it. And then the cream begins, like, filling itself into her drink. And she just goes, I can move things with my mind.
And Phoebe's like, I told you so.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty special.
Yeah. She says, with how much you hold inside you, you should be a lethal weapon by now.
And that is so, like, that's so Prue.
Yeah.
Like, she definitely keeps it all locked up.
Yeah. And I'm really interested to, like, know how they did that effect, because it's not like the cream is, like, poured in from the top. It's like it comes in from the bottom.
So maybe like there was some type of straw on the like on the inside somehow, and then it just kind of bubbles out.
Yeah. Holly Marie Comes, if you're listening. Tell us.
We need to know the creamer
We need to know
secret.
the creamer scandal. I did tell her about our podcast, so
That's right.
I have an autograph, 2 spells and spoilers. Check it out on our Instagram. But Prue is, like, kind of reeling from this development, and Phoebe tells her that this must mean that Piper can freeze time. And she asks Prue if she's okay, and she says, no, I'm not okay. You've turned me into a witch.
Because again, it's all on Phoebe.
Yes, it's all Phoebe's fault.
She's the youngest. She gets blamed for everything.
Yes. And she says they were all born witches, and they better start learning to deal with that. Yep. We get some more exposition. Phoebe says that the Book of Shadows shows 3 witches battling incarnations of evil, and that the witches can either be good or evil. And she says that a good witch follows a code that's to harm none, do what ye will. And that a bad witch only has one goal, to kill good witches and steal their powers. We learn that all witches, good and bad, look like regular people, so they could be anyone. Mm-hmm. And she explains that as long as they didn't know about their powers, they were safe, but now there might be warlocks after them.
Yeah.
Which is great. And I think that like is really stressful for Prue, that like all of a sudden her siblings are in danger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she is a control freak.
Yes.
And because of this, she no longer has control and
Right.
doesn't know how to handle the situation.
Right. Well, like,
so then it causes her additional stress because she loves her sisters. She might have tension with them,
mm-hmm.
but she doesn't want them harmed.
Right.
And now she's lost control of the situation.
Yeah, I think like for Piper, it's very much like, I don't want my life to change. I want to be normal. She like really wants this like normalcy. But for Prue, it's like she doesn't want anybody to be in danger. She's very protective, and like Mom's already gone, Grams is gone.
Yeah, so she has taken that role.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so I think, that's really scary for Prue.
Yeah.
So next we see Piper in a cab with Jeremy, asking him if anything unexplainable has ever happened to him. They have like some brief banter about a fortune cookie. It's not important. Jeremy, it's like about who's going to be on top. It's like not important. Gross. Jeremy asked the cab to take them to a different location, the old Boeing building.
Yes.
And we immediately cut away from that.
Yes.
Back to Prue and Phoebe.
It just stopped.
Yeah. Which is like, that's immediately sus to me.
Yes.
But
she even questions that.
Yeah.
She's like, wait, I thought we were going to your place.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, we are, but I've got a surprise for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we cut to Prue and Phoebe at a pharmacy, and poor Prue has a migraine. Me too, Prue. And Phoebe says, I'm not afraid of our powers. Everyone inherits something from their family. And Prue is like, yeah, like money, like a strong disposition, antiques, like not crazy. Yeah. But Prue is like low-key having a breakdown over the fact that she's a witch.
Yeah.
She starts yelling that she like just wants to be normal. Also, where is the damn aspirin?
Yeah.
And she like starts shouting, which I think is a bad idea considering they are in public.
Yes. Like, who knows who's listening?
Yeah, really. I'm like, you just don't care. Anyone thinks you're crazy. Like,
I mean, she kind of is in shock, though.
Yeah.
So, and when people get in shock, they don't care about that. Like, they're gonna speak what's on their mind, and their voice may raise.
Yeah, absolutely.
And typically it does.
Yeah. But she says, look, I have just found out that I'm a witch, that my sisters are witches, and that we all have powers that will apparently unleash all forms of evil. Evil that is apparently going to come looking for us. And I do think it's interesting that she like brought up the fact that like, you know, they're going to be in danger. Because I think that, you know, that is something that weighs heavy on her.
Yeah, right there, she just completely voices what we were just discussing.
Yeah.
She is concerned for not only her safety, but primarily her sisters.
Yeah. Phoebe suggests that she just move the headache out of her mind.
And I love that. Like, come on now.
But a bottle of aspirin like comes flying into Prue's hand.
Yes.
And Phoebe observes that she moves things when she's upset.
Mm-hmm.
And Prue says, "This is ridiculous. I thought you fell on your arm, not your head."
Yeah.
And she says she doesn't believe her.
Mm-hmm.
And Phoebe scoffs and says, "Roger."
I love how she challenges her.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
And then like the rest of the bottles of aspirin that were on the shelf like fall off the shelf.
Yes, yes.
And she says, "Now let's talk about Dad and see what happens."
Yeah.
And Prue says, "He's dead, Phoebe." And she says, "No, he moved from New York, but he's very much alive." And Prue says, "He isn't to me. He died the day he left Mom."
I think so many people can relate to that statement right
Yeah.
there. You know, when somebody goes through a divorce
Yeah.
and children are involved, a lot of them, like my parents were divorced, and like my father was not involved, but that was not his choice. And like for those that are in that situation where the dad or the mom just up and leaves, like a lot of those people relate to Prue, where they might still be alive, but they're completely dead to me.
Yeah. And Phoebe says, "What are you talking about? He's always been a major button pusher for you. You're mad he's alive. You're mad I tried to find him. And you're mad I came back. Dad, 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 dad." And so, like, it kind of makes me wonder, like, is that the, like, real reason that there was, like, tension in the first place?
I was just thinking that. Like, maybe it wasn't Roger.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a little bit, but maybe that was the real reason.
Yeah, because she, like, moved to find their dad. So, yeah, I do think that that's, like, a big piece of it for sure.
Yeah. Because why look for someone that left us
Right.
and treated our mother like that?
Yeah.
Like, why do you want that?
Yeah, absolutely.
But again, the youngest child, they typically long for that interaction with their parents.
Yeah.
So
When she finishes her little speech, half the aisle of medication just flies off the shelf and into the floor.
Yep.
And both the girls are shocked. And Prue says she feels better.
yes. Yeah.
But Phoebe tells her that the Book of Shadows said that their powers would grow. And Prue laughs and is like, "Grow to what?" Because, like...
Yeah, I think that is where she realizes that this is real.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was the moment where she realizes that, okay, I do. Like, she's almost accepting it at that point, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We head back to Piper and Jeremy, and Jeremy is getting sketchier by the minute, like, honestly, because he leads her into this abandoned building. Like, there's no lights, nothing.
Yeah.
Like, the sketchiest place ever. And Piper says she's not going in there. And he's like, "I have a surprise for you. It's inside. Don't worry."
I'm sorry, but if somebody led me into an abandoned building, one, how did the lift work? Okay. And two, if it's an abandoned building, I've read enough books. I've seen enough scary movies. Like, I'm not going. Like, you tell me you're taking me to an abandoned building to get a good view. No, thank you. Take me to... you know, a building that's actually in working.
Yeah.
Like, she should have never went.
Yeah, you're the sketchiest man ever. But they go into this, like, old school elevator or lift or whatever. And Jeremy says, "You're going to love this. I bet you tell Prue and Phoebe the moment you see them." And Piper immediately is like, "Red flag."
Yeah.
Because she never mentioned that Phoebe came home.
And she mentions that to him.
Yes. Yeah, she says that. And realizing that he gave himself away, he goes, "Oops," and then just immediately pulls out a knife.
I know, like that acting. I mean, I get it. It's the late 90s. But, come on.
Yeah, something. And
Like, it was, like, random almost.
Yeah. And she goes, "What is that?" And he goes, "It's your surprise." Which is not funny, but it's so funny to me.
Like, what?
Yeah. And so Piper says to put that away. She says that, "You're scaring me. I'm serious. Like, please." And she's very scared, and I would be too if I was alone with a white man.
At the same time, she's so calm with it. Like, most of us would have been like visibly shaken.
Yeah.
And like immediately tearing up.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see a little bit of tearing up in there, but she was so calm with it still.
Yeah.
Like she handled that situation really well.
Yeah. And Jeremy says that he's waited 6 months for this, ever since Grams went into the hospital. And before we start talking about his evil monologue, I just want to say, how did he and that blonde woman know each other? Was he dating her too?
I think he was playing them.
Yeah.
Because he obviously killed the other witches. And I think he was using his so-called good looks and cheating on all of them.
Yeah, because she was like, what are you doing here? And then, yeah.
Like, the blonde clearly knew who her killer was.
Right. So, like, not only are you a horrible
and he had
murderer,
access.
you're a cheater. Like, you're the worst.
Yeah.
But he begins, like, evil monologuing as they, like, circle each other in this elevator. And he said, I knew the moment the old witch croaked that all of your powers would be released. Powers that would reveal themselves as soon as the three of you got together again. All that was needed was for Phoebe to return. And Piper, I feel like, catches on, like, pretty quickly. And she's like, it's you, isn't it? Like, you killed all those women. Why? Yeah. And Jeremy, like, holds up his hand, and he shows her, like, a little flame on the end of each finger. Also want to know how they did that. Poor guy.
Like, did they
like, birthday candles.
Right? That's what I was going to say. Birthday candles.
But he says that that's the only way to get their powers. And then, like, in a demonic voice, he says, now I want yours.
Oh, my gosh. And, like, the way they messed his face up.
Face is, like, morphing. And he, like, raises the knife, and Piper freezes him. And she starts climbing through, like, the lift door, and Jeremy unfreezes and, like, grabs her leg. And she grabs a piece of wood from the ground and hits him in the face and knocks him out.
That sucker out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good for her.
At the manor, Prue finds the cat from the opening in the house.
Yeah.
And nobody knows how, like, it got in there. They do keep this cat.
Yeah.
They just kidnapped
like
this cat.
Catnapped.
Yes, absolutely.
Granted, its owner is deceased, but they don't know that.
Yeah, they don't. They're just like, who, a cat? It literally has a collar on.
Yeah.
And they're like, nobody probably wants this cat. It's fine. But Piper runs into the house and starts telling them to, like, lock down the house, close the doors, close the windows, and asks Phoebe if the Book of Shadows said how to get rid of a warlock. And we see Jeremy, like, waking up, and, like, because he's the worst, he says, and I quote, I'll get you, you bitch.
That was such a random, weird line.
Yeah.
I really feel like that.
Yeah, and
like,
he says it more than once.
They could have come up with, like, in that moment, they could have come up with either nothing at all.
Yeah.
And he could have just ran out, or something completely different.
Yeah.
Like, that was bad writing.
Yeah, but, like, yeah, like, not only does he want to kill you, but he just hates women. You know, he sucks. But Prue says she's going to call the cops, and Piper tells her that even if the cops did believe her, they would be no match for Jeremy, and the girls would be next anyway. Phoebe runs down from the attic, calling them upstairs, saying she found the answer. And upstairs, they begin this ritual, and Prue reads it off. She says, we've placed 9 candles anointed with oils and spices in a circle, and because Charmed is really good at putting, like, funny moments in really important scenes, Piper says, I only count 8, and Phoebe pulls out a birthday candle.
Like one of the little skinny stick candles.
Pink, skinny birthday cake candle, and says, I guess Grams was low on witch supplies. They really just pull those one-liners in at the best times. I know. Pulling out a pink birthday candle when you're about to die is, like, the funniest thing to me. They throw, like, this little poppet doll into the cauldron, and they're, like, ready to start the spell. And Piper says she's going to make it stronger. She starts, like, pressing a rose, like, by the thorn into the doll. And says, the second spell, your love will wither and depart from my life and my heart. Let me be Jeremy and go away forever. Also, I think that spell sucks.
Like, they could have put more passion into it. Like, make it sound, like, flowy.
Yeah, I think, like, maybe the further we get away from the pilot, we'll have better spells. You know? Because, I mean, they're just, like, testing the water kind of right now.
Yeah.
But she puts the doll back into the cauldron, and it immediately, like, begins to smoke. There's a flash, and then it catches fire. So, like, we can tell that it worked. And we see Jeremy in the street, like, cry out in pain. And then the thorns, like, explode from his body.
Yeah.
Gross.
Like, he was, like, morphing.
Yeah. He's, like, pierced
because
by
she had
thorns.
pushed the stem of the rose into
the doll. And the girls like start cleaning up the ritual because they think it worked. And Phoebe gets a premonition of Jeremy, and that tells the girls that the spell did not work and that Jeremy is still on the way. So they run down the stairs, and in the dumbest move, Prue like opens the door. She's like, "We're gonna go out here." Lock the house.
Yeah.
Like,
why are you running out?
Yeah. He's out there.
I guess that makes sense. Like, they're trying to escape,
Yeah.
leave the house because he won't find them. But at the same time, go out the back door.
Yeah. Also, like, where are you gonna go?
Yeah.
None of you have jobs.
Call Inspector Andy.
Really? She opens the door, and Jeremy is literally standing on the porch. And Prue tells the girls to run as she uses her powers to throw him back. And I think, like, that kind of goes towards what we were saying is, like, she's really scared about her siblings being hurt in any way.
Yeah.
And so Jeremy, and my notes say, a man who can never resist an evil speech, says, "Cool parlor trick, bitch. You were always the tough one, weren't you, Prue?" Again, why? Why are we using that language?
Yeah.
That is not necessary.
Like, they're trying to make it sound manlier.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come off like that. It comes off scripted.
Yeah.
Like, for a TV show.
Yeah.
It definitely comes off scripted.
Yeah, I don't understand why he can't... Like, I understand that he wants to kill women because he wants their powers. But why does he also have to hate women?
Because they're more powerful than
like,
him.
You know what I mean? Like, why do we have to make him, like, just be like, that's my goal is to, like, kill women. But I don't really care if they're women. Could be men. You know what I mean? I don't know. It just, like, gives me, like, I want to kill women because I want to kill women.
Yeah.
But Prue throws him back again and runs up the stairs. And in the attic, the girls barricade the door. And Jeremy, like, starts moving the objects, like, out of the way.
With his mind.
Yeah, with his mind. And he has, like, a demonic voice on. And he goes, "You don't think a chair can stop me?
Yeah.
You don't think a dresser can stop me? Have you witches figured it out? Nothing. Nothing can keep me away." And then he makes the door explode.
Oh my gosh, I cannot get over how they did the blowing up of the door. Like, that was so poorly done. I can't. Like, I just can't get over that. That's probably the worst part of the entire episode.
Well, I also noticed that, like, it didn't explode, like, towards the girls.
Yeah,
it,
like shards would have definitely hit them.
Yeah. It, like, exploded, like, the opposite, like, towards Jeremy.
Yeah, it, like, butterflied.
Yeah.
Instead of all around.
Yeah, it was very interesting, like, CGI. Very strange.
Yeah.
And the girls, like, obviously are very scared. And Prue says, "Remember the spirit board?" And they begin chanting, "The power of 3 will set us free." And Jeremy throws, like, a ball of fire, and it surrounds them. And he keeps approaching them. The girls continue their chant, and Jeremy throws, like, a wind tunnel at them. I don't know how to describe it. Like,
kind of like a tornado around them or something. Like, like, why go from fire to wind?
Yeah.
Like, why not do, like, a fiery wind tornado or something?
It was a strange choice.
Yeah.
But the sisters join hands, and they start shouting their chant. And then Jeremy explodes.
Yeah.
What did you think about the Jeremy explosion? You have notes.
Like, I feel like they definitely could have done this whole scene completely different. Like, from the moment that they started barricading him out, they definitely could have done it differently. Like, I'm not sure what their mindset was, because he just kind of, he blew up, but there was nothing there. Like, if anything, he could go up into flames and then the ashes could blow away. But instead it's like chunks of him, but then it doesn't leave anything behind.
Right. Yeah, it's really strange.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, how that is going to develop as they, like, get better CGI and, like, bigger budgets and stuff, if that will look better.
Yeah, because it is the first season, so they don't know how it's going to go. I mean, it's the first episode.
Yeah.
So we don't know how it's going to go. They don't know how big of a hit it's going to be. So I am hoping that their graphics get a lot better.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it for sure.
Yes. I will update you.
Yes. So the next morning, Andy arrives at the manor and meets Prue outside, and he asks her out to dinner and taunts her that maybe she's afraid, which, like, me too, honestly. If my sister's boyfriend tried to kill me, I'm not going on a date for a minute. I'm just going to be clear about that.
Yeah.
But Prue says, "Afraid of what?" And he laughs, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know, having too good of a time."
Because she is kind of tight.
Yeah.
Like, and it's because she's older. from the whole time we've heard it, she's had to grow up
Yeah.
and take more responsibility.
Definitely.
So she is more uptight.
Yeah. He says, stirring up old memories and rekindling the old flame.
Ooh.
So clearly,
I can't wait to get their story.
I know. Clearly there's something.
Mm-hmm.
Prue kind of gives him like a soft no. Like she
Yeah.
doesn't say that she will go. And she even tells her sisters, like, I turned him down.
Yeah.
But she does ask if she can call him. So
Yes.
like the door is still open for that.
Like, yeah, because he is aware. She did mention that her and Roger are no longer together.
Right.
So clearly she had just recently broken up. So it's almost like a respect on his part is like maybe he's taking that into consideration for the answer she gave him.
Yeah. And like she does tell him like my life has gotten a little bit complicated. Like I'm just not in a good place. And I think like Andy is like such a good person that he's like, you know, if she says no, she says no. I'm not going to make her do something she don't want to do. But he isn't stupid. So he does say, yes, you can call me.
Yes. Yes. Because if he said no, like who would for one?
Yeah.
Like then for sure he's stupid.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely. And then I would change my whole entire opinion of Andy.
you'd be a pro Cole.
I'd be pro Cole.
Again, I don't know who Cole is, but we'll get there.
But as he's leaving, Phoebe and Piper come outside. And Phoebe is holding the cat, who later will be named Kit, but she's holding the cat.
Okay.
And Piper says, not only do witches date, but they usually get the best guys. And the cat from the beginning of the show meows, and Andy definitely notices that as he's like getting into his car.
He does. He like stops and he's like,
Yeah.
Like you can definitely tell like he's gonna start keeping an eye on them.
Yeah. Like
Because
he clocks it.
Because of that cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Prue laments kind of that everything will be different now, but they will be careful, wise, and that they will stick together.
Yeah.
And they go back into the house, and Prue closes the door with her mind, and we cut to credits.
Yeah. And I think like that scene right there where they're like, you know, we're going to be careful, wise, and stick together. Like that is the moment that changed them.
Yeah.
Like all the tension went out the door. I mean, there's going to be tension, obviously. It's 3 girls living under a house.
Yeah.
Like we know there's going to be tension, but you know, like they're going to grow from this.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think that's great. It was a good ending to the first episode.
Definitely. So, Elizabeth, who is your witch of the week?
So I would definitely say that it would be Phoebe.
Ooh.
Like, I love how Phoebe just comes in and she doesn't take, like, she knows that her and Prue have issues, but she doesn't take it.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, no, we need to talk this out. And then eventually I guess they really don't even talk it out. It just, because they've become witches, they're one now.
Yeah.
And I just love how she challenges Prue. Like, she pushes her buttons, but in a good way.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I'm not sure that Prue really sees that. Not yet.
Yeah.
But she's my witch of the week.
I picked Prue.
Okay.
I think she just had so much going on this episode. She was like dealing with the return of Phoebe. She quit her job when they were being unfair to her. The like quips from Roger, like dealing with that. And then finding out she was a witch and dealing with that breakdown.
Yes.
Because like not only is her whole life going to change, but her sisters that she helped raise are now in danger.
Yeah.
But by the end of the episode, she like seems to like have come around to the idea, and she's like laughing with her sisters and having a good time.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that shows a lot of strength.
Yes.
So
I agree with that.
So I picked Prue.
That's it for today's episode of Spells and Spoilers. Thanks for hanging out with us. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and follow us on Instagram at Spells and Spoilers and TikTok at Spells and Spoilers Pod for more. We'll be back next time with more supernatural fun. See y'all later.